Good afternoon. The February 3rd meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust will be in order. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for January the 20th.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Are there questions or comments on the minutes? Voting, please. Minutes are approved. Next item is the consent docket.
Move approval subject to individual consideration.
Second.
Motion and a second on the consent docket. Are there matters to be discussed individually?
I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
On number 3A, we're talking about replacing 2 backup power generators with an automatic throwover system. What are we going to do with those generators?
I'm sorry, sir.
What are we going to do with the generators, and what kind of fuel do they use?
So this project specifically brings in permanent generation to the Draper plant. It increases the capacity to operate the plant. We are, at this time, our understanding is the generators will be used solely to operate the plant.
There's 2 generators out there, and we're going to replace those with something else. What are we going to do with those 2 generators?
I believe that they're leased, that we don't own them. If we do own them, they would go through a process of determining whether someone else in the city can use them or they would be sold,
Okay.
ultimately.
Then, Mr. Chairman, I have one additional question on item N, which is the financial report that BKD did. They say some things, sort of tacky things at the end about our internal controls. Have we addressed those?
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, voting please. Consent docket's approved. Next item, concurrence docket. Couple of items.
Move approval subject to individual consideration.
Second.
Are there questions on the concurrence docket? Hearing none, voting please. Concurrent docket's approved. Next item, individual consideration. Item 5A is accept of a quitclaim deed.
Mr. Chairman, this is a policy B, a cost participation policy payment for improvements that have been made to the wastewater system, an oversized sewer line of 4,880 feet of 12-inch line and another 28 feet of 10-inch. Aqua's total cost exposure is $58,000, $58,536 for that oversized sewer main.
Did they have to put in a pump to move the sewage, or did they do it?
Lift station.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
Have they put in a sewer lift pump?
I believe this is a gravity main entirely.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Voting please. Item 5A is approved. Next item is a resolution recommending to the city to adopt an ordinance relating to sewer and garbage disposal.
Move approval.
Second. Question. Marcia, have you met with the stakeholders or the users, the industrial waste users on this?
Yes, the industrial pretreatment staff and Terry Soltani, the division head, have held a public meeting with users and sought comments from users. While, of course, you never hear all of the comments until you're entirely through the process, we believe that they understand and are generally okay with the proposed change. The program, the federal law that created the industrial pretreatment program requirements is a part of the Clean Water Act by reference, and as a part of that, because utilities were eligible for federal grants at one time, the requirement of all of the wastewater programs is a clear cost-based rate. This is consistent with what the federal government asks us to do for pretreatment. I think it's a pretty affordable program. Much of it is contract operated. And happy to answer other questions.
Has there been any public hearing?
Not per se. There's been a user group meeting in which the users were invited to offer comments and did so.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, voting please. Item 5B is approved. Next item, item 5C. assignment and amendment to a contract for engineering services.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second on 5C. Any questions or comments?
Explain the project and funding on this.
So we've been working at the Draper plant for a long time making improvements, and Corella Engineers has been a lead in that particular work. They were working on the temporary power system for us, and that will be in place before permanent generators can be approved. But later on your agenda under General Manager Reports, an item from me about receipt of a grant to back up power at the Draper Water Treatment Plant. The grant will allow us to generate about half the power, so we'll be able to produce 75 million gallons a day for customers, about half the total Draper plant capacity. When the new larger generators are installed permanently, we're very excited and accept a great deal of responsibility for the significance of the project and our operating role and maintenance role that goes along with those important facilities. Corella, because they are on board and because the grant has a very short time frame, is being asked to do that design work.
Are you contemplating a similar system at Hefner Water Treatment Plant?
Long term, it doesn't have the same vulnerability that Draper does, both because of the frequency of tornadoes, but also because of the power system grid where the Hefner plant is, in contrast with where the Draper plant is located.
All it does, that proximity thing, is protect us from power line failures. It doesn't do anything about generation failures or
That's
anything.
true. That's absolutely true.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second to approve item 5C. Voting, please. 5C is approved. Next item is, I understand we do need executive session. Is that correct?
Second.
Motion and second to move to executive session. Approved. Next item, we do not need executive session. Is that right?
Move we strike the item.
Second.
Motion and second to strike. Item stricken. Next item from trustees. Any comments from trustees? We do, Trustee Edwards' father passed away over the weekend, and we want to express our condolences to him at the loss of his father. Any other comments? General Manager reports.
Mr. Chairman, the thing on the agenda I've already alluded to is the great information about the Community Development Block Grant. With us today is Steve Rhodes, who's the manager of such programs for the city of Oklahoma City. In case you have any questions about the grant, again, the total potential, we've received $2.845 million, potential to receive $24.76 million total to help pay for, and just about completely pay for 2 power generators at Lake generators at Lake Draper.
Is this part of a broader CDBG grant that has done some, has replaced some roads? Is that all one thing?
Steve Rhodes from the
Planning Department. No, the city receives an annual allocation of about $4.3 million, and this is completely outside of that. These resources are coming from the Disaster Relief Act associated with recovery from Superstorm Sandy. And HUD has allocated those resources to both the state of Oklahoma and the city of Moore. And we have received an allocation from the state for $24.55 million to and do those improvements at the Draper Treatment Plant.
We anticipate more. Are there other projects that fall in the scope of the grant that would?
There's potential that some of the other awardees that the Department of Commerce has provided these disaster recovery funds to that may be recaptured if those projects can't go to fruition. And there is a second application that we're working on now, or actually maybe even considered a third, called the National Disaster Resiliency Competition. And it's a competitive application. And there are only, again, 2 eligible applicants in the state, and that is the Department of Commerce again and the City of Moore. And we're going to partner with the City of Moore on an application, or at least that's our intent, to try to do some more resiliency improvements at the Draper Treatment Plant.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Steve, do you have specific projects in mind?
There are specific projects in mind, and Tom and Larry and Sam may be able to speak more directly to them, but with the current grant that we have, we're going to put in the power generation, and if bidding comes in favorable, then we will do, I think it's called a section flume, and in the second application, we're going to work on obviously doing the section flume if bids do not come in where we need them to be on this current grant. We will put that in, as well as the clear wells out at, replacement of the clear wells out at the Draper Treatment Plant. Is there other things that I might, okay. And yeah.
Thank you. I think we're, are there citizens to be heard? No one's filed an application. Okay, we will be back. We're going into executive session.